Everywhere we turn, we're surrounded by incredible feats of creativity, art, and innovation. Yet, it seems the most undervalued act of creativity is that of creating yourself. That's why, in today's video, we're discussing what it means to become your own muse and how to live with purpose, passion, and pleasure. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eva, and in this space we talk about how to level up and live our dream lives. We talk about things such as feminine energy, holistic wellness, and mindset. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please consider subscribing and keep watching. As always, timestamps are down below and video chapters are as follows. For starters, what is a muse? A muse is a source of inspiration, a guiding genius. Throughout history, writers, artists, and creatives alike have often found their purpose and passion through their muse. And often, that muse was a person. Think of the artist whose lover became their great source of inspiration. John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono are a great example of this. But muses aren't just for creatives. Because whether or not you create art, we all have someone or something that inspires us. And while muses can be incredibly powerful, sparking phenomenal pieces of art, music, and literature, it might also pose a risk. If you're not careful, your world can start to revolve around this thing. And when you rely so heavily on something external, it can jeopardize your own sense of security or safety because you almost become dependent on it for your happiness, for your creativity, or even for your success. So here's my proposal. What if you became your own muse? I don't mean this in a self-absorbed way where you're only ever thinking about yourself or your own selfish ambition. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And I'm convinced that becoming your own muse is one of the most powerful ways we can actually contribute to the world. So, what does it mean to be your own muse? To be your own muse means to live a purposeful life, to find inspiration from within, drawing on your own experiences, passions, and the people you share your life with. When you do this, you can create from a place of authenticity. Instead of relying on some external source to fuel you, you become the source. And in doing so, you naturally give back. You naturally inspire others. I like to think about it kind of like a circle. You're inspired, you create, and then you inspire. Becoming your own muse means crafting a life that is uniquely yours. Not one dictated by what others find impressive or what society might deem as normal. Instead, it's about pursuing your own highest calling, similar to the way that art does. We like art because it moves us. It makes us feel something. And some of the most powerful, profound pieces of art have been divisive. They've been controversial. Maybe they've even broken all the rules, but that was precisely what made that piece of art so special. But when it comes to our own lives, we hold ourselves to a completely different standard. In reality, your life doesn't have to make sense to anyone but you. Because the thing about beauty and art for that matter is it's all a matter of perspective. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And so what resonates for one person might not resonate for another, and that is completely okay. So for the rest of this video, I want to talk about how to craft a life and an identity that we love. The ultimate artistic creation, if you will, and ensure that our life is filled with purpose, passion, and pleasure. So with that being said, let's jump in. I don't know about you, but I enjoy seeing and experiencing beautiful things. Even babies prefer faces that are deemed more attractive. So start by paying attention to what you find beautiful. A song, a dress, a piece of architecture, a sunset, a ritual, a speech. There is beauty in everything around us, but it's up to us to open ourselves up to it. I mean, even think of this little TikTok trend, for example.
If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around.
Sometimes beauty presents itself effortlessly, and other times we have to consciously seek it out. But the more we look, the more we find. And the more we surround ourselves with beauty, the more it shapes us. Because in many ways, we are nothing more than our thoughts. What we focus our energy, thoughts, and attention on is what grows. It's what we become, what we attract, and what we build our lives around. So tuning into beauty does two things. First, it helps us discover what truly matters to us. What traits, values, and qualities do we admire and want more of in our lives? And second, it guides us towards our direction, our calling, our purpose. But more on that in a moment. Now that your life is filled with beauty, start creating. Create stories, create music, create poetry, create meals, joy, friendships, inside jokes, experiences. Create action, waves, impact, change. I think that too many of us are focused on consuming rather than creating. And I think this is why so many of us often lack that sense of deep fulfillment. When you are constantly taking, it creates this internal feeling of emptiness. Just imagine scrolling on your phone for hours only to feel this void afterwards. The solution is to create. Instead of chasing the butterflies, you're building a beautiful garden and letting them come to you. So try a new hobby and abandon it if you realize you don't actually like it. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Take a cooking class just because you can. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. It's simply about exploring what interests you and what you find beautiful. And no matter what, you're going to be creating something that wasn't there before. This was exactly how I started getting closer to understanding my passions. And once I understood what my passions were, I could begin to understand my purpose. Purpose. It's this abstract, scary sounding word, especially in your 20s. The world around us is constantly changing, and often we find ourselves searching for something, some higher purpose or calling, something that makes everything worthwhile. And I think people find purpose in different things through different avenues, and that is exactly the way that it should be. But I think one thing that is true for everyone is that God gives us natural gifts. And it's our responsibility to find those gifts, nurture them, and use them for good. So some people might be really gifted with pattern recognition or numbers, while another person might have an aptitude for caring for others or making them feel very heard. Whatever that thing is, how can you develop those skills and use it for good? But oftentimes, here's where I see people getting stuck. They start using this skill and creating or doing something that they've never done before, and then they encounter an obstacle. The business fails. The relationship doesn't last. The meals that you're cooking don't turn out the way you wanted them to. So then they stop progressing forward. So how can we overcome this? I used to watch a lot of these Bob Ross painting videos. In fact, I still watch them occasionally. And every now and then, while he would be painting, there would be a brush stroke that would maybe extend a little farther than it was supposed to. And he would always say, "Oh, there's a happy accident." He would never say a mistake, always a happy accident. And I think that is just one of the inevitable parts of life. Things come up that are unexpected, things that will damage us, that will nearly break us. But I think those are the things that help shape us into who we are supposed to be. And then when you zoom out and you look at the masterpiece in its entirety, you see that little brushstroke that was originally not supposed to be there, but it ends up being exactly where it needed to be. It reminds me of this quote that I love. I literally have a whole list of quotes on my phone. I just write one down every time I hear a good one. But it says that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So as you go through this journey of inspiration and creation, as these inevitable mistakes come up along the way, you have to give yourself grace. And so the final piece to truly becoming your own muse is to practice unconditional self-love. Okay, I'm gonna get a little personal with you guys. For years, I longed for someone to choose me, to make me feel worthy. And when I was chasing this validation from others, again, it was this feeling that they were the center of my world and I was just orbiting around them. Until one day I woke up and I realized that nobody could give me that feeling but myself. And I get it. Realistically, it can be really hard to put this into practice. In fact, I actually think it takes tremendous courage to choose yourself again and again, because Sure, it is easy to love ourselves for all of our gifts, our strengths, our natural talents, whatever. But what about when you break a promise with yourself, or when you know you could have done better? Do you still accept yourself even when you fall short or when you don't live up to your own expectations? You have to find a way to love yourself through that. And the how piece is probably for another video. It's beyond the scope of this one, if I haven't already made a video on that topic. But for many, it takes this true conscious effort. I actually had this moment with myself the other week where I remember stepping onto the treadmill and there were all these thoughts racing through my head. And I just remember saying to myself, like, Eva, even though sometimes you act like this or sometimes you do this, I still love you. I still cherish you. And I genuinely cannot tell you guys how good it felt to say it and truly mean it. It was one of the clearest moments where I really felt like I was just showing up for myself, like I was giving myself the warmest hug. And honestly, that is what inspires me. That is what keeps me pushing forward even amidst the obstacles that I might run into. I know that I've got my back. I know that God is on my side. And so I get to create a life that's as beautiful and extravagant and magnificent as I want it to be. Finally, I want us to consider why we like art in the first place. I would argue that art speaks to us in ways that feel new, unlike anything we've ever seen, felt, or experienced before. So we don't admire it because it's perfect. We admire it for all of the things that make it unique. And I don't see why our lives should be lived any other way. Becoming your own muse isn't just about beauty or creativity. It's about seeing yourself as the masterpiece in progress, worthy of love, worthy of attention and care, worthy of creation, and worthy of being the source of your own inspiration. If you've made it this far, I thank you so much for watching. I would absolutely love if you could give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below, as it really helps me out. But with that being said, I cannot wait to see you for next week's video. Bye.